Welcome to the podcast that puts a finger on the pulse of medicine and technology. On this show, you'll hear from investors, industry executives, and healthcare providers on the science and business of medicine. I'm your host, Omar Khateeb, and this is the State of MedTech.
And Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all. Welcome back, everybody. You know, at the end of 2022, we couldn't just go out very quietly. We had to have one last banger of a live stream. And so today, on special days, not only on Wisdom Wednesday, but a very special day, we decided to do a medical sales holiday special where we look back on 2022, talk about all the great things and stupid things our industry did, but also look at 2023 and kind of figure out like what's next for the industry. And of course, as much as I'd like to do that by myself, I'm but a mere man. I had to recruit the best, the most talented, the most legendary, the most beautiful beards in the industry. You know, one other beard, working on the other two to have them on. So let me bring on my guests. While you're watching, you know how the show goes. Doesn't matter whether it's Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, or Christmas Eve. I want to hear where you're joining from. So let me bring on some people. We got Mike Moore, the epic, the legendary Mike Moore, joining from Hermosa Beach. We got Ken Capertain from Austin, Texas. We got a LinkedIn user who I can't see your face because you're on private mode, but that's okay, from Shrewsbury, Massachusetts. We got Jim Wingcoop. Hello, old friend Matt and new friend Omar from San Diego, California. Hey there, Jim. Another LinkedIn user on private mode from Cleveland, Ohio. That's okay. That sweater. It is, you know what? This is my special Christmas sweater. Many of you might think that this is Santa Claus. It's actually Matthew Ray Scott having a beer. He just happens to be in a Santa Claus outfit. So with that said, let me bring on some of the guys. So first and foremost, Matthew Ray Scott. How you doing, Matthew?
Omar, thanks for putting this together. Excited just to chat with the lads and those people who are joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining. Next up, Eric the Hammer Anderson. Eric, hey Eric.
Hey Omar, how are you? Love the sweater. Thanks for inviting me, and look forward to some fun here in the next hour.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to figure out what's going to be the best way to see all. And last but not least, Stu Brandon. There you go. Hey Stu.
I had a little technical difficulty with my internet. Thanks for having me. Excited.
No problem. No problem. Now, everybody, just give me a second. You might puke when I do this, but let's see. Yes, actually, that's the best layout. Perfect. We're good to go. So before we get started, we got a few more shout outs. Jackie, we know Jackie from Delray Beach. Thanks, Jackie, for the kind words. We got Taylor Laneville from Seattle, Washington. Hey, Mike Jones. We got Cheryl Halbert joining from the car on the way to Dallas. Hey, Cheryl, please do not look at your video screen. I know it's going to be very difficult because, like, who wouldn't want to look at this scene? But please don't do it. I'm trying to go 2022 without any crashes during these live streams. Chris Gross here. Whoops. That's okay. And, Mike Jones. All right, fantastic. So let me take off that banner real quick. All right. So
I always wanted to point up at Matthew like this. Thank you.
I know.
Oh, wrong way.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah.
Hey, Omar, what you don't know is that Stu is going to do free throw shooting lessons at the intermission, and that's not even an extra fee.
Actually, Matthew,
I love it.
I worked on a Zoom background that I thought this was going to be in Zoom, and you would have been pleased.
Oh, you know, you can, Stu, email it to me. I could bring it up if you'd like. Shoot it to me in an email if you want right now, and I'll bring it up. So, gentlemen, I figured, you know, I wouldn't dropped in the chat for people to have some discussion points, but I figured let's kind of kick things off and just kind of go around. Maybe Stu, we'll start with you. Like, what were the big, you know, things you took away from 2022 in terms of what happened with the industry? And I think the main thing is that 2020, terrible year. 2021, we're like kind of getting out of it. And 2022, like we're fully out of COVID, but the world's changed. Like, what are some of your takeaways, some thoughts on 2022?
Yeah, I mean, my takeaways would go back to the COVID year when I first started talking with Matthew Ray and, you know, somewhat implementing what he taught us, in spring of 2020. But 2022, what I really found personally and for our group was as we fully embraced just the use of LinkedIn and the use of, connecting with surgeons in a different way, sharing our perspective on the industry on platforms like LinkedIn and consistently doing it really is what has, gradually it increased our business and gradually got more and more people to reach out to us. And, just the consistent doing it, sharing our perspective, creating influence within medical device.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, this is the first year that we're starting to see like, more than just like, one or two or three people just kind of like in the hallways talking about like this new way. I mean, I remember even, I think during 2020, but it might've been a little bit before that, Matthew Ray, seeing you in terms of like going all in on the video sales letter. And I remember that you and I talked back in sometime in, I want to say 2020 or 2021. And you made such a great point, which is like, look, all I've focused on those videos is just providing as much value and not asking or talking about business or anything. And I think that's the way to go. It's kind of like you guilt trip your own prospect to say, you know what, this person's actually really knowledgeable and they're helping me a lot. Like, why wouldn't I want to do business with them? But Matthew Ray, why don't you give us kind of your take on 2022?
Yeah, one of my takeaways on 2022, and I think Stu and certainly Eric are great examples of this, which is we're finding medical sales people, the four of us represent that title, by the way, that are focused on creative content. And now medical sales consultants who create content on LinkedIn build awareness that can lead to thought leadership. Stu and Eric are perfect examples of that. And so it used to be that you would look at, and to this day, and we all know medical sales consultants who are being told, just shut up and dribble, just stay in your lane, don't have a voice. What interests me about both Stu and Eric, Eric and I have known each other for 20 plus years, and, Stu right in that 3-4 year mark. What I'm seeing is content creators that are compliant yet creative. And so that's one thing that I'm beginning to see, or that I saw in 2022. Some of the things that came to pass for me, the Great Resignation. We have more physicians every day that are leaving the industry. They're frustrated, they're burnout, they're focusing on mental health. It's tougher to be a physician today. And that aligns with my other prediction in 2022 is that we're going to start to see medical selling that is aligned with the physician buyer's journey. Once we empathetically partner with doctors, we stop selling intellectually, fall into the comparison trap of my widget's better than your widget. And empathetically, we realize that that's how they're making decisions now. They're making decisions, purchasing decisions around pain relief, perspective, and problem solving. So those were some of the big predictions that I saw, which helped me, and I know we'll talk about it later, kind of think, all right, what will we see in 2023?
I completely, wholeheartedly agree. And I think, I want to definitely get into it, but I think I have some stats, some data. I can't say how exactly I came across it. Let's just say I have ways that'll be very interesting regarding some of the big, as Stu likes to call them, like big ortho companies. Before we get into that, Eric, just, your quick thoughts in terms of 2022 and, some of the things that sort of stood out to you.
Yeah, I echo the same sentiments. I think that what really stuck out to me in 2022 is this shift that's happening, and Matthew just illustrated it with surgeons that, they're leaving the industry. They don't have time to meet with medical salespeople. They don't. And you're vying for their attention along with hundreds of other people and entities that are vying for their attention. And so you got to figure out a way to stand out. And whatever that reason is that, you have, that you need to be in touch with that surgeon, or you need to get, where you need to be, you've got to figure out a way to vie for that attention. And it's I've just noticed it's really accelerated in the past probably 6 to 12 months, where the time is not there and for these surgeons. And because of that, you're not able to do the old, let me meet with Gloria, the gatekeeper, and kind of talk to her a little bit and say, ha, Gloria, and kind of, tell her that with some cookies, how we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And let's have a lunch. And those days are gone. I don't, they may work some places, but those days are gone.
And I'll add to that, Eric, is we're never going back, like you just said. Plus, I know that there's a lot of physicians out there who are excited that COVID happened and changed the way that we can interact with them, because they can use it as an excuse now. Because
100%.
A lot of guys would meet with me in the past that didn't really want to.
Yeah.
Right. I would say this, that I have found that communicating with busy surgeon customers and physicians through this medium changes the dynamic. It's a complete 180, because no longer as you're providing them with information, they see you as an expert in your field because of this medium. Whereas before, you were kind of knocking on the door and opening the door and saying, hey, guess what I've got? And you're throwing up on them. That's not happening anymore. You don't have to do that. And it changes. I don't know, you guys can comment on this, but it changes dramatically with the relationship, with at least the initial start of the relationship, for sure.
And Omar, here's what the four of us are doing. We are avoiding the gatekeeper. We are avoiding the default of, well, I'm going to persuade people to give me an appointment, and then I can tell them how we can solve their problems. We're avoiding that. The vast majority of medical sales consultants are still stuck in that default pattern of, I got to persuade Gloria, the gatekeeper, ultimately the doctor, stalking at the scrub sink, hanging out the parking garage, to give me an appointment. The four of us, we broke the mold. We're going directly to the doctor via email, LinkedIn direct message, organic, precise, direct outbound. And that is a shift that the vast majority of medical sales consultants have not figured out, because they're still busy with Jersey mics in the hallway trying to get a set time. And the four of us have avoided that.
Well, and the biggest thing I've come to learn about that, Matthew, is that if we reach out to someone in a unique and different way and they get back to us, it is starting the conversation off in a different way than me going knocking on Gloria's desk or whatever and saying, hey, I want to see Dr. Scratch and Sniff.
Yeah, absolutely. And what it also does, and you three do this exceptionally well, I'm learning this from you, is that it changes the sequence and the timing of, they come to us in a buying posture, or certainly in a self-educated posture, to where we avoid the shake hands, hey, did I get you your turkey avocado suborder right? We avoid all that, to where virtually, because we're not waiting for an appointment, we give them the ideas, the examples in 2 minutes, 90 seconds at a time, so that when they do meet with us face to face, they come to that in a, let's talk about the next step posture, versus all of the other stuff that goes around with the delayed response that we're used to.
Right. Because it's on their terms.
On their terms. You know what? Doctors hate to be sold to, but they love to purchase our technology.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing is, with the advent of the internet, this is like my house and my people are telling me to be quiet.
Well, I don't know if you just saw behind me. My son's back from college. That freak that came in with the long beard and the long hair. Like, what happened to him? Anyway, yes. Go ahead, Omar.
When your son walked in, here's exactly what I thought was going to happen. He was going to go, Dad, it's time to catch sharks with old ortho implants or throw external fixation devices off the cliff. That's what I thought was going to happen.
It probably will in the next hour or so after he gets a haircut. Anyway, sorry.
No, I was just, the main thing I was going to say is just like, you know, with the advent of the internet, like, I don't know if everybody noticed, I'm sure you did, but like when 2020 happened, your phone exploded with a lot of spam texts, spam calls, right? To the point that a lot of these mobile carriers like AT&T, T-Mobile, they all got together and they essentially changed not only inbound calling, but text messaging to match that of email. Like there's a spam folder for your text messages now, right? And so it's gotten more difficult than ever to do this, right? So even for me, I mean, I'm a marketer. I use automations all the time. I don't use automations as much anymore because it's just difficult. And I've realized that in terms of me as a B2B buyer, there's no difference between me as a B2B buyer for my own business than me as a consumer buying stuff from Amazon. So that means that I want the information at my fingertips when I want to get to it. I don't want to talk to a salesperson. And then if I do have to talk to a salesperson, I damn well be entertained and educated. Like if it's not a combination of those two, why would I take the meeting? It's just pointless. And I think I mentioned this to Matthew, either you or Eric, that you know, like earlier this year, I was prospected by like 3 or 4 different SaaS companies, like 3 different ones on the same day. They all called me, left voicemails like, "Hey, Omar, just following up, blah blah blah." You know, whatever, people doing their jobs. Not a single one of those people thought, you know, just to make sure this is the right person, all these things, and also see what's going on in this guy's world, let me just go check online, like check his Instagram, bare minimum, check his LinkedIn. Because had they checked my LinkedIn that week, they would have seen that one post was made, which was my kid was being born. Like, you know, and so like, I feel like this is not just in our industry. It's like, it's in SaaS, it's in so many things. And so I think the people who are going to win in 2023 are the ones who, continue to sell, but they realize that like, in order for me to get to that point of a buying process, I need to make them feel that paying with their time to meet with me is going to be at bare minimum educational and entertaining, at the bare minimum, you know?
Yeah, think about it. 2 years ago, if we were interfaced with MedTech sales and marketing, we would be talking about drip sequence campaigns delivered on MailChimp, etc. Who knew that after COVID, who knew that radical personalization would be the new exponential scalable word of mouth marketing? Who knew that if you sent a personalized video to Dr. Scratch and Sniff by name that lasts 90 seconds, that is radical word of mouth marketing compared to what we were doing 2 years ago, stuff every doctor we know into a blind CC sequence, come up with something spammy and press send.
Yeah.
Look at that evolution.
Yeah, just doesn't work anymore. We got some questions. Let's bring them up. So Jackie's going to kick us off with the first question. So her question is, are there any OUS or international medical sales trends happening that you think are coming in 2023? Was the LinkedIn shift happening there in 2022 also? And will 2023 take the shift global versus US? If you guys don't mind, I'll kick this off just because I literally just talked to LinkedIn a month ago, or LinkedIn Healthcare. So the answer is yes, Jackie, that's already happening. Outside of the US, the next big market for LinkedIn, it might actually even be more active than the US market, is the UK. So the United Kingdom's healthcare LinkedIn market is extremely active. And then right after that, what's rising is Asia, specifically Southeast Asia. And what I would say is just like medical devices or a lot of other things, the United States is really good at doing one thing, exporting our culture, you know, pop culture, if you want to call it, everywhere else in the world. And so just like how Instagram got exported to the rest of the world and became a thing, for professional engagement and everything, LinkedIn is going to be that thing. And if you think about it, compare it to Instagram, YouTube, all these other places, there's a lot of countries that have blocked the usage of those social media platforms they have not blocked the usage of LinkedIn because they see that as a way for their citizens to do business with the U.S. Right, so it's only going to become more. I'll let the gentleman kind of jump in on that as well.
Yeah, so I live in Florida, and I have several of my friends who are distribution partners down in South America, Central America, and so they talk about this trend happening where the same thing where it's been hard to get in touch with their surgeons as it is anyway, and so I've kind of shared some of the techniques that we're using here, and they love it. They think it's fantastic, and just being able to just message some technology type questions and answers, and and some live content. I won't go into it what they're doing, but I think that in different markets, especially in ones where we're seeing the sales representative is not actively going into offices in different markets across the world, this is a fantastic medium.
Absolutely. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say I don't have much to add this because I do some work with some international companies, but I'm only focused on the U.S., so I haven't given much thought to this.
Yeah, my agency feed, we work, Asia, Israel, South America, North America. We work all over. We have clients. If you can visualize this, it's a scene out of a Will Ferrell movie. So I'm in China speaking to a group of neurosurgeons.
That already sounds like a movie I want to see.
Oh, dude, I step back international relationships. I'm absolutely positive. But I'm in China, and I had an opportunity. I decided to spend as much time as I could with a top orthopedic distributorship, well-known in China, and watch how they sell. They're more progressive than we are in America, hands down. You see, what they're doing is they're focusing on scalability and sustainability through virtual means, through extended relationships, selling problem solving versus selling a product. And then I went to Israel, and we work with Israeli clients as well. And I see more progression and modern adaptation along the physician's buyer's journey, OUS, than I do with us as red-blooded North Americans. So that's my experience.
Yeah, Matthew Ray Scott, I think one of the main reasons for that is that like in the overseas market, because of how regulated it is and how difficult it is to sell, they're already used to the fact that, hey, like this is going to take some time, and if we want to make sure that this goes through, like when we get to that point of selling, from here until whether it's a quarter from now or a year from now, we want to make sure we start developing this super powerful relationship, so that to the point that if a distributor comes in with a better product or a cheaper price, the relationship is strong enough that the hospital, the physician is just like, no, I'm gonna stick to this group as well, for now. And it's funny because I think, what frustrates me is this word consultant or consultative. And I'll tell you why. Every person in our industry, whether they're a 1099 working for a big ortho company or they're a full-time W-2 employee, right? Everyone wants to be a consultant, right? Everyone wants to be seen as an expert. Nobody wants to put in the time or effort it takes to be viewed at that point and to understand that it's not an arrival. And it's like, oh yeah, I've been doing this for 10 years, so I'm good, right? Because you can only spend so much time talking about your product. At some point, you have to have some knowledge of, let's say, practice marketing or revenue cycle management or branding or something. Everybody wants to get a great KOL. Okay, you get that great KOL. How are you going to prepare them and get them to a point to be on podium? How do you get them like to have a brand on LinkedIn so they're like, man, this company like has taken my career to the next level? Nobody wants to put that time in, but everybody wants to be seen as a consultant. Is that just me?
Oh, I think you're preaching good guidance, Omar. Here's been my experience since I left the med tech world of big ortho, big spine, is we're all in sales, just most people don't know it yet. So when I made the transition into running my own agency, I quickly learned that people that I were hiring were like, I want nothing to do with sales. I just want to do one thing really, really well. So I learned that. That was interesting. So I tell everybody who may be frustrated with medical sales, hey, you're learning a foundational skill that will serve you well today, tomorrow, and if you run the pirate flag up the flagpole like the three of us have, the four of us have. And so that's step number one. Then step number two is that the lines are blurred between what is sales and what is marketing. Marketing must sell, and salespeople must know how to create demand generation or know how to market. So it's been really interesting to see that evolution occur since, all of us got started in this industry.
No, I totally agree. There's so many things I can say on that, but we'll circle back. I want to get to Tim Donahue. Tim Donahue, Jackie, great question. Thanks for kicking us off. If you have a question or topic to discuss, please drop it in the chat. And if it's something that's really controversial, go ahead and private message me. I'm going to be checking my DMs today. I usually don't do that, but today I will do that. So Tim Donahue asked the question, how long do you all see this lasting before physicians shut down this avenue of communication? Whoever wants to jump on that, please.
Yeah, I mean, I could do the old, I don't see them shutting this down ever. It's funny. Somebody asked me that the other day. It's like, when people get 10,000 emails, do people really look at their emails? Yes. Do people, when you get something sent to you in your mailbox from a company, do you still look at it? Yes. That's why they still do it. It still works. I don't see it being shut down. I see it. Obviously, there's a little going to be delusion like there is with everything else. I don't see it happening. And that's my opinion.
Yeah. What I would say to that is the people like us and the people that are going to start engaging surgeons and physicians and our ideal customers this way is as more and more people do it, something else will come along that we will be willing to try. And maybe that's the avenue. I mean, It was email at one point.
Right.
And it was and still is to a certain extent texting. Now people using LinkedIn. There will be something down the road.
I got to throw a disclaimer out. Timmy's a buddy of mine. We worked together at Medtronic. So Tim and I go way back. He's a medical sales RX graduate. Great question, Tim. Here's my answer. This is some tough love, I know, to some people. If you want to know why doctors are not responding to you, it's the price you pay for being boring. It's the price you pay for not being helpful enough. It's the price you pay for erring on the side of a persuasion bias to sell a product versus solve a problem. It's been my experience. So every time I enter into situations where I don't get response, I try to raise, what does generosity look like? What does problem solving look like? What does process building and practice building look like? And when I take it to the next notch, to the degree that I sit there and I go, ugh, I'm giving away all of my best ideas for free, that's the moment that I know that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And contrarian as it sounds, give away your best ideas. Doctors will absolutely respond to you. They will pick up the phone. They will, hey, I'm shameless. They will schedule appointments with you all day long.
Look at that.
Every day.
Look at that.
All day long, every day. You'll be booked solid. But we have bought into the belief that we as medical sales consultants are supposed to be at the intersection of introducing technology. No, you're not. It's not enough. It turns out everybody else is technically proficient. It turns out that every other medical sales rep #hustles the same way that you and I grind. That's been my take-home experience.
And that's something in 2022 I really learned as well, as I'm having more and more conversations with physicians, but as well as the frustrated big ortho rep, is that the more time that I have given to them, it has been just as much rewarding to me as it is to them. But I used to suffer from the same thinking that a lot of people do. It's like, well, I can't give up my secret formula.
Yeah. And Stu, look at what you've done. You got a podcast. You interview top surgeons. Contrary to popular belief, surgeons love to be interviewed.
Mhm.
So law of attribution, law of reciprocity, you've got that in effect. You share their unique voice with your audience. All four of us are engaged in content-based networking, content-based prospecting, and this conversation of give your best surgeons an opportunity to have a voice is a foreign concept to medical sales consultants, to us. If somebody would have told me that back in the day when Eric and I were, hustling for Smith and Nephew, I would have thought they were crazy. But I get it now. I get it that doctors don't want to buy our product. They want you and I to be problem solvers, practice multipliers. That's what I've learned.
Right. And I mean, on the podcast side, Matthew, right, it is a very unique and different way of starting a relationship with someone. Whether or not you end up doing business with them at any point, that is genuine value for most people.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
And I think, like, do you have to have like a podcast to be good at sales? No, you don't. It helps a lot though, in my opinion, because that's an asset that goes with you everywhere, right? But, at the end of the day, the question Tim asked about how long will this last? It's a good question. The point though is that let's just say this lasts only for a year. Something else will replace it, right? And the exercise and the muscle memory you develop in this platform immediately translates to the next thing. Look, the reason why I was able to get traction very quickly on LinkedIn from back in 20, if people remember what LinkedIn was like in 2015, there weren't videos, I think just articles. So it was like a ghost town. I had spent the last couple of years prior to LinkedIn really learning Instagram and how to advertise on there and market everything. And then I just translate that immediately to LinkedIn. Then I started doing video, translate that over to YouTube. Now, despite my hatred of it, but TikTok, for example, whether I hate it or not, I'm on there now too, right? Because it doesn't matter what my feelings are. The market is using that for interest-based search. When somebody wants to look something up, they're not going to Google anymore. They're going to TikTok, which is why it hit $4 billion in revenue. And so I think that's the biggest thing. And the other side I would say is that as late in the game as it is now, there's still massive first mover advantage. Look, just between my program, Medical Sales RX, the top people, the top reps who are popping up on my feed, either they're 90, I counted this, I remember a month ago where I went through and I see it. I was like, who's in one of these programs? 90% of those people, they're in one of our programs, if not both. It's not by coincidence, Sure.
Well, Omar, that would go towards the people that are investing in themselves, as you and I had this conversation the other day, compared to people that are relying on their company to invest in them.
Stu, that is golden. I'm going to wait until Omar gives me permission. That is a whole dialogue in and of itself, which is who is investing in their education. It's not who we think it is.
So I have two questions.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. Now, if you're in medical sales, you're going to want to listen to us, whether you're a capital sales rep, an associate sales rep, maybe you're a VP leading a sales team, or perhaps you're the CEO and founder of a company and you're doing your first sales hire. Let's face it, medical sales has changed quite a lot from just the past few years. But let me tell you how much it's changed and, more importantly, how bad it's gotten. There's a company called Access Monitor that did a survey of over 347,000 physicians over the period of about 8 or 9 years, right? And they started in 2008, and they wanted to see what percentage of physicians were accessible to reps. And the way they defined that is if a physician took 70% of the calls that a rep made, they were considered accessible. So if a physician gets 100 calls from different reps throughout the year, they take 70 of them, that's considered accessible. So in 2008, that number was 80%. And then in less than a decade, that number every year dropped little by little. And then over time, the compounding effects of that had a huge impact. Because in 2016, that number dropped all the way down to 44%. Now,
Right now, we're in 2022 and we're about to start 2023. So fast forward 6-7 years, how much more lower is that number? And based on the variable of the 2020 lockdown, how much lower do you think it could have gotten? Now, based on my analysis and modeling of that number is less than 3% at this point. Think about that. Your sales team, every time they go outbound, they have a 3% chance of getting in touch with somebody because only 3% of physicians are actually accessible to reps, right? So how do you differentiate? How do you actually put yourself to be in a position to be successful? Well, the good news is that you're listening to this commercial. And the best part is that the majority of companies out there, and when I say majority, I mean 99% of them because I've audited so many of them, have not invested a penny into updating their sales training or having their sales reps know how do you actually sell and persuade somebody who you can't see in person, right? And I had this issue back in 2020, and let me tell you about the new way, the different way, right? And that is digital medical sales. You see, back in 2020, I was part of a small startup. We sold capital equipment to critical care departments. And I was able to use a digital medical sales strategy to put 35 deals in 60 days. During 2020, during the lockdown, that's right, 35 deals. And those deals ranged from deals like Johns Hopkins, UCSF, the University of Kansas, to HCA facilities, small regional hospitals, right? The idea is, how do you use digital channels such as LinkedIn, email, virtual demos to persuade at scale and drive technology adoption? And the best part is that you can do this as a team where the effects of it are even larger. And so I put together a program and a community to train and develop the sales team of the future called the Medical Sales Network Effects Program. Why network effects? Because the most powerful companies in the world, from Google to Facebook, Uber, and so on, have used the idea of a network effect, meaning that the larger a network gets, the more valuable it is, the more leveraged it is. And your sales team can use these same kind of principles in their outreach digitally so that they can sell at scale without stepping into a hospital. Let me tell you a little bit about the program and how it breaks down. The program is divided into 3 different areas. It's all centered around content, which is constantly evolving, being updated through our portal. Reps have access to this both on computer and on their mobile phone so they can learn on the go. And we have events and a community around that. So the content is very simple. With the content, we take first principle foundational topics such as psychology, persuasion, network effects, and more, and help the rep apply it across a variety of different areas. Not only just their LinkedIn profile, but their emails, their presentations, their outreach. So that way, even when your rep has to go in person, they're a lot more effective because they know the principles of psychology and persuasion and they're able to apply it. But then they can do that at scale using the same program. We have fantastic events every single week and every month. So every week we have these live calls where we cover a variety of topics, from how do you do a virtual demo to how do you shoot a video sales letter to how do you get emails opened. Did you ever think about that? Even before the before the lockdowns happened, we use email. How much email training have you gotten? Probably not much, right? So your reps could be sending all kinds of emails that marketing spent time to develop, and it's probably going to the spam inbox because they don't have it formatted a certain way, right? Or they didn't write the right subject line so that it actually gets attention, gets opened. Along with our events, we have this great thing called the Network Grand Rounds. These are essentially private Zoom calls with special guest speakers because, let's face it, I, as talented as I am, I don't know everything. There's a lot of things I don't know. So I bring on the best in the industry to give these private Zoom calls. And so everybody gets on, the speaker gives a topic, and then they can ask questions. And if they can't attend live, they can always submit questions ahead of time and then watch the recording. And we've covered topics such as customer success, territory management, capital sales process. Let me give you some examples of those talks we've had. We've had Dr. Ira Kirschbaum, the chair of orthopedic surgery at Bronx Care, the largest nonprofit in the country, give a talk on how to get technology into a hospital. Where else are you going to hear the chair of a department explain how to get capital equipment in? We have Dr. Sandra White, who teaches the business of medicine to private practice owners, explaining how a rep can be a partner and a contributor to a private practice. We also have reps and successful sales leaders give talks. So, for example, Jacob McLaughlin, when over at Medtronic, was given a poor-performing territory, turned it around in 1 year to a multi-million-dollar success story. He provides his framework for that. And of course,
our community. We have a growing community online. We have this private LinkedIn group where we use it for people to connect with each other and also to share content and reports. And we have a lot of great people in that group. We have influencers such as the Mad Device Rep, executive recruiter Mike Moore, other people such as former VPs like Jim Surik. But we also have a lot of sales reps, a lot of young associates who are in there who know how to commercialize and sell digitally, who you can hire onto your team, right? And also, there's plenty of people for you to learn from as well. We have some of the world's top and largest medtech companies are in our program right now, people from Stryker and Medtronic and Johnson & Johnson, but also a lot of startups like Hyperfine, Potrero Medical, Intercosmos, Moon Surgical, and the list goes on. And of course, we have a growing list of members getting huge results. I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube or on Spotify, you can see all these results. You know, anywhere from people getting reached out to online from surgeons to going to conferences and being recognized. So, for example, Gaida Lovera, she's in the spine world. She mentioned how surgeons directly message her online to learn about her products, and she's actually recognized when she goes to conference. Franco Datillo, who at the time joined the program when he was in between jobs, was in a real tough spot, and wrote this beautiful testimony on how the program helped him land a new role and increase his income. And believe it or not, we actually have practicing surgeons in our program. That's right. There's actual surgeons. So like Dr. Michael Verdon, he's a practicing spine surgeon, joined the program because surgeons are wanting to learn how to utilize and leverage things like LinkedIn to control a narrative online. And he mentions how his network has exploded, right? And for this podcast, since you're listening to this, I have a free offer for you. You can get a free LinkedIn profile consult from me and my team and see if you qualify for the program. Plus, we also have team packages. So go ahead and click the link in the show notes below. Book your free consult. The best part is that you're going to walk away with at least 3 ideas on how to improve your LinkedIn presence so you can sell more and more effectively. So go ahead and take advantage of this offer. And now let's get back to the show. Okay, so we're going to do there's one prediction that I brought up, and I'll kick it off so people, I'll kind of wander out into these dark waters. But before that, we do have a good question. This is an interesting one. I want to kick it off because I just went through this a year ago. So we got Ron Sandel. Ron asks, you all speak a lot about surgeons. Do you think that the LinkedIn personalized video, email, engagement strategy is transferable to other specialties or physicians in general? It seems orthodocs are very active on LinkedIn and other specialties not so much. Thoughts? Let me just kick that off. The answer is yes, the other specialties are active, and I've looked this up, right? So there's on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you can actually type in like a specialty or a job preference and then see who has posted in the last 30 days. This isn't counting who's logged in, actively looked at things, this is literally somebody creating their own post, okay? The orthopedics are very active. They're actually not the most active. At least the last time I did this, and I didn't go through all the specialties, but like of the orthopedic surgeons, in the United States, there's 22,000 active orthopedic surgeons, okay? 18,000 of them have LinkedIn profiles. Of those 18,000, about 3,000 are active. That's not active, actively like posting in the last 30 days. Vascular surgeons, I found 2,000 of them on LinkedIn. 1,000 of them have posted in the last 30 days. It's insane. Yeah. So,
wow.
And if you take surgeons out of there, think of it like this. And I experienced this when I was dealing with nephrologists. With surgeons, they're used to people doing like all these like exciting and different ways to engage them. The people who are like getting just boring stuff all the time, it's the internists, right? And so you actually have an even greater advantage because at least in the surgical world, they're used to shiny toys and everything. In like slower parts of medicine, like, internal medicine, pathology, everything, like you think a pathologist has ever seen a video sales? That's the beautiful thing about this. Like these technologies, these ways of communications have existed for like 6 years now. Mm-hmm. But literally this segment of the population has never seen those kind of things. And I've seen it myself. I've run ads even that I said, there's no way that this kind of ad is going to work. This is like an old outdated tactic from 5 years ago. Works, right?
Interesting.
Gentlemen, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I'll contribute on this one. I think part of the mistake that our group is making is we add the vocabulary or nomenclature of surgeons because we came from surgery.
Yep.
So the four of us came from orthopedic, spine, et cetera. And I think it's, and I'll just speak for myself, I think it's a bad precedence because this applies to how do you engage any healthcare decision maker, period. And Eric and I were talking about this the other day, that it is true, you know, on Medical Sales RX, we attract a lot of med device reps to Stu's course, to our course on Medical Sales RX, because we came from orthopedic and spine. But it's limiting when I or us use surgeons. This is applicable to anybody in the healthcare field. It's transferable to all specialties. I can tell you on the feed side of the house, we're working with every type. And one of the things that we've expanded Medical Sales RX, ophthalmology, pharmaceutical, device, robotics, capital, we're attracting everybody, not just the smaller percentage of us who came from orthopedics and spine. So Ron, thank you for reminding us that we got to be careful of how we describe this. It's not surgeons. It's how do you connect with decision makers that leads to an awareness of brand awareness, thought leadership, get the phone ringing.
Right.
And that's absolutely
what it's about. Yeah. How to connect with your ideal customer.
Yes,
that's exactly
100%
right.
convinced it. Not even the med device, medical. This would work in any industry.
It doesn't, and yes, that's 100% correct. Because I just came from the SaaS world, and even in the you can call it the internet marketing world, like these things work for a reason. They continue to use them. You know, we have so Ashley, you asked a great question, but it is way too long. We got to shorten these questions down. So if you can shorten that down. I'm going to go ahead and ask. Cheryl asked a great question. This will be kind of a quick one, but I think that the point is well taken, which is here's the question. So here's Cheryl Halbert. If you've got a big name logo on your scrub shirt, are you selling or servicing? Boom. Mic drop. Mic drop. You guys are bigger in the ortho world than me, so I'm going to let you guys handle this one.
Oh, I got to hear Stu and Eric on this one. I yield to the experts.
So
the beards yield.
Yeah, I will jump in. There is 100% a percentage of the big ortho, big spine reps that are selling. There are. The vast majority of them are servicing, without a doubt.
And that number is growing and growing and growing. The business is completely changing. So what a wonderful opportunity to actually understand how to sell. And I say that all the time because I'm watching this industry completely change in one respect, is that the people that they are trying to attract, and this could be we could do another hour-long call on this, how 70% of first year and second year medical sales reps are leaving their companies. There's a reason for that. They don't know what they are. And medical sales managers also don't have any idea who they are mentoring and how they're doing it. So anyway, we could go in, but to answer your question, it is service. And I think the ones that understand that it's sales and the service is the piece of the puzzle that solidifies what you're doing, they are the ones who are going to win.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
and
I totally agree.
You have this other phenomenon, at least in orthopedics, going on, is that these companies are making what I'll call mega teams, where they're combining 2, 3, 4 territories together as a way to spread the risk of surgeon leaving. But also it is spreading the upside when you do get a new surgeon, because if you have 15, 20 people on a team all sharing revenue, you get a new $1 million customer, you're seeing just a fraction of that. And I can't not say this. Oh, by the way, your non-compete has just expanded greatly.
Absolutely.
It's so weird you'd bring that up, Stu.
Whoops. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, we did.
It's a sound. Oh, wait a minute. Is that who I think it is? Off in the distance? Is it the one, the only, the red hat gangiest? Matt, device rep, has graced us with that present. Matt, MDR, welcome to the party, man.
Man, I feel like I just really got overhyped. Like there's so much pressure on me right now.
I know. Don't screw this up, dude. Because like if you do, you're dead to all of us at this point.
Well,
Hey, did you pay your $8 to have those on for this call?
He did.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
It was
Good.
12 because there was $4 extra for a staple to hold the paint.
Oh man. Well, you know what? Now that MDR, you're here. Let's let me bring up another. Okay, so Ashley, thank you so much for retyping your question. So I'm gonna bring up Ashley's full question, and we're gonna try and. Oh, actually, no. So here's Ashley's question. Let's bring this up. Ashley Hawkins from the Northeast, I think from Baltimore, even if I remember correctly. Do you foresee large med device companies' marketing departments working more closely with sales reps and adopting these new sales tactics as a team approach? Yes, I do. If they're smart. So this is something that I kind of implemented and experimented with many years ago at Potrero Medical, which was I was the head of growth. And because I was running marketing, I said, this is what we're going to do, which marketing provided the content and let's say the overhead. What do you call it in the military where like you have something coming overhead? What's it called?
I was a paratrooper, so I call it a parachute.
Like the
Close air support.
Something like that. Sure. Yeah. With the content, paid ads, demand gen, right? But then you enhance it by each salesperson using the content, deploying it in their own way, and you have some kind of a network effect between the content coming out from marketing, leadership content coming from your CEO, and then the salespeople recreating their own content, but also sharing and posting that same content. So 100%. The big question is, who's it going to be though? That's my thing. And if I'm going to venture a guess, it's going to Potrero to an extent is definitely doing that now. They've continued to do that since I've left a couple of years ago. But in terms of the big med device companies, that's actually one of the questions that I had as a prediction. So I'll bring that up and I'll give you my prediction in terms of who's going to be encouraging their reps to do more of this. But let me let everybody else jump in. So somebody jump in and give your thoughts. Who do you think is going to be, or do you foresee this happening at all?
I live in this world. My agency works with some of the top med tech companies. At the end of the day, I agree with you, Omar, but I started off with no, they will not be working more closely, comma, but if they're smart, they will. And so I wound up where you wound up, Omar, but Ashley, it's a great question. We are such knuckleheads. We live in a siloed world where sales is in a fiefdom and marketing is in a silo. And it is speaking a foreign language. It was the same way when Eric and I were in Smith & Nephew. It's the same way in 2022 when my agency is helping to repair those fractured relationships. And the reason why is because they're rewarded on unequal and differentiated KPIs. Marketing's in general, marketing is not responsible for sales. And so what we as salespeople, having been a VP of sales and a VP of marketing, what we as salespeople do is we go, give us more stuff.
Yep.
And it's a crutch. Mm-hmm. It's a crutch to supplement why we are or are not meeting our quota. And so MQLs, marketing qualified leads, are different than sales qualified leads. So, this was one of my 2023, I wouldn't call it a prediction, I would call it an equalizer that goes like this. If sales and marketing in medtech does not get on the same side and play for the same team, it's a great opportunity for smaller companies to take a guerrilla warfare approach and steal market share.
Absolutely.
I'll just use Stu and Eric as a perfect example. Are they a distributorship? ? Are they a practice building agency? Question mark. Are they thought leaders in the medical sales space? Question mark. The answer is yes, all the above. So real quick dovetail. In 2023, we're going to see the Rep Freedom Stu Brandons. We're going to see the Eric Andersons. We're going to see the New Age Medicals. We're going to see the Marvel groups that are getting ready to disrupt how physicians want to work with local or regional distributors, and how manufacturers go, wait a minute, the broken model of dependent upon centralized marketing, we yield to decentralized regional marketing. You know, the Eric Andersons in Florida, the Stews in the Midwest, they know the pulse of what's going on. We're going to let them hire, to be honest with you, feed resources. They're going to be in-house agencies. It's going to change the model.
Yeah. Well, along that, I mean, look at all of the stuff we see on LinkedIn or social media from a company. It's all advertising. It's all product related. And it's all the same from company to company.
And it's terrible.
Yeah, the price we pay for ridiculous marketing is the price we pay for being boring.
Right.
The minute that we compliantly become creative and more helpful, hey, Zig Ziglar is regarded as like this old school, outdated philosopher. Young sales reps, you would be wise to listen to Zig Ziglar instead of modern day sales prophets, hands down.
So Omar, I want to.
I'll second that. Anybody who disses Zig, I'm like, you're dead in my book, man. Zig's fantastic. Hey, look, I'm a millennial, and I'm saying like his teachings are more relevant today than they were 10 years ago, in my opinion. MDR, what were you gonna say?
Well, I think Matthew just absolutely crushed that answer, because having been a marketing manager myself, there's such a disconnect between how marketing and sales are incentivized. Mm-hmm. And there's absolutely no incentives for sales support. And marketing essentially means nothing to our customers the way we're doing it now from a big company perspective, because it doesn't align with what sales is doing. So absolutely, Matthew's point, right? Like all of this, like big box marketing is what it feels like.
Man, let me just jump on to talk some smack. I've said this so many times, and I'll never stop saying it.
Berber and now, Omar.
Yeah. Like most marketers in this industry don't do marketing. They do product management, and they do marketing as a hobby when they go to the conference and they're like, hey, let's just spend a bunch of money on a booth and some key drop-offs and get some lead gen, right? And like shout out to my buddy Chris Walker, because like there's a reason why his group, the Refine Labs, became the #1 demand gen agency in the world last year, and now they lit a torch and gassed that thing, and it burned it down, and they're headed towards the category they're building, which is revenue R&D. Because I just got an email from my own industry from someone where it's like, hey, and they didn't even have my name. It's like, hey, blank, right? So there's an issue with automation. Like, I have a list of healthcare provider emails for you, blah, blah, blah. And it listed them out. Like, I would love to show you these lists, and share pricing. Please let me know. And I looked at and I'm going to post this on LinkedIn later this week. I looked at this person's title, Senior Director of Demand Generation. I'm not kidding you, right? So demand generation has just become another word for lead gen, right? And again, like, this is what the marketers in our industry do. But to their defense, they are also dealing with a sales team who comes back with only requests like, hey, you know what? I need a brochure. I need this. I need that. And my favorite response back to it is like, hey, you know what? I'm canceling every meeting I got this week. I'm going to make that brochure for you. So when I make that brochure, does that mean that your pipeline is going to be full by the end of the quarter? Marketers need to learn how to push back a little bit. That's why I tell marketers, like, look, if you didn't sell, you're already in a bad spot. At the very least, go spend time in the hospitals. Go spend time with reps. Like, understand what that life is like and what they're dealing with versus sitting in an ivory tower.
I have never once used a brochure to sell.
Neither have I.
Maybe as a visual, No, I bring in the product itself, or a version of the product, or something physical that you have. And brochures are they get thrown.
They go in the trash.
Collectors.
MDR. I can't. This is where when I came out of medical school, I started in this industry like 10, 11 years ago, and I remember sitting at a meeting when I was a rep before I was in marketing, and there was so much time and emphasis put on like the copy of the brochure and everything, and all I can think about was, why are we spending all this time and money on something that's literally going to go in the trash?
I've done it. I've done it.
Why? Yeah, I've done it myself. I get stuff all the time from conferences. Oh, great. Trash. I gotten business cards from CEOs at the end of the conference. I'm like, trash, whatever.
In the course that we teach at Medical Sales RX on using personalized videos, I kid you not, what we tell the top performing medical sales rep response rate or engagement rate is when we teach them, imagine this is a brochure. When we teach them to hold up their physical brochure, go into screen share mode, whatever you want to use, Loom, Vidyard, etc., and point to it and go, doctor, I know you're too busy to read this brochure. Your well-intentioned front desk person is doing her job. So what I thought I'd do is I would summarize this brochure in less than 90 seconds. Now, at the end of this video, you can download and take a deeper dive. So MDR, and Omar, you're spot on. But isn't it crazy that when medical sales reps hold that up and say, you're too busy to read this, and I'll drop it off to your front desk. She's just doing her job. She's going to hold on to it. It may not even make it to you. So I thought I'd give you the 2 key takeaways in less than 90 seconds. That
Absolutely.
Personalized video crushes it.
I got a question for everybody. So we have a bunch of questions. And by the way, this is a holiday special, so I've blocked out the next hour or two. So I'm going to stay on as long as I can. I know you guys are in other time zones.
So I'm good for a while.
Yeah, I was going to say in Matthew in Arkansas, that usually means he's going to a funeral. So he's happy to be doing this right now.
That's exactly right. And Eric is a plus size hand model, so he knows the demands.
I thought I recognized the
Wait
hands.
a minute. And notice that I've made it to the top of the screen now. I'm not at the bottom with Stu.
Oh, man.
That's right.
MDR and me. We're at the bottom.
Yeah, Omar, you're doing a good job. We're with you.
Yep. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So here's the next question I have, and I've written out the question. I'll go first because I'm gonna cast the first stone, and you don't have to answer this because everybody's a little bit different. But my question or my prediction is, let me, where is it? Okay, here we go. So here's the prediction. Which big medtech company will be the first mover to invest in reps adopting social media to sell? Okay. And when I say big, I mean market cap over $10 billion, like big box. I'm going to kick it off, even though, so here's, I'm going to lose a lot of money just because of what I'm about to say, whatever. So it's okay. It's not like they're looking at contracts right now anyway.
Dude, you're wearing a beautiful sweater. You can get away with it.
It's okay. I'm really charming. I feel like I can get away with a lot of things.
I feel like you're cherubic.
It's not going to be Johnson & Johnson. Okay, Johnson & Johnson has this brand of innovation that they like to stick to, but they're really buttoned up about things. Little bit too buttoned up. Definitely not Medtronic, because Medtronic, while it might seem like they should be the ones to do something like this, they're not going to do it because they're like the number one player, the largest medical device company in the world. They're just like, we don't have to do that. There's a bunch of like second tier big box companies that I'm not going to mention because I don't want to insult anybody. Intuitive Surgical, definitely not. This is just not a thing that Intuitive Surgical cares. And I hate to say this, in some ways they kind of don't have to. This is like one of the only med device companies where if you go into surgical robotics, you're kind of playing in their world, right? So all these companies are going to do it the moment that it becomes an issue that a competitor's stealing stuff from them. Like J&J could have adopted robotics back in the early 2000s, did not do it until like Ethicon got gutted by Intuitive. So who does that leave? And I'm gonna here's my reveal. My prediction, it's going to be Stryker. And here's the reason why. I give Stryker some flack sometimes. because I genuinely like their brand. I like their company culture. They're extremely aggressive. I can tell you, at least in my program, some of the top like sales reps, not all of them, but a good amount of them come from Stryker, right? So they have some kind of culture there. From my own data analysis this year, plus I've confirmed, and I will not reveal my sources no matter what, internally with Stryker, at least on my data side, I've seen an increase in Stryker rep content creation and activity on LinkedIn by like 15, 20%. The person that I spoke to who is currently at Stryker, they told me it was a little bit higher than that. When they went and checked, because they do audit these things, it's around 20, 25%. I think that came as a result of people, which in my opinion was a loss. Great people like Johnny Cafaro, who's doing a phenomenal job with employee brand awareness, right? He's no longer at Stryker. In my opinion, is a loss to him. But I think because of that, Stryker can no longer control reps, and they're just going to have to say like, hey, this is what we're going to do. But it's a great opportunity for them, because rather than them following the J&Js and Medtronics, they can be the first mover for this, and it would look so good on them. Plus, their own customers, orthopedic surgeons, are like the most adopted on this. That's my prediction, and I'll who wants to go next if anybody prefers to.
I'll go.
Yes. And I'm gonna write down your answer, and I'm gonna bring it up. Go ahead, Matthew.
My answer is not a company. My answer is a person.
Okay.
If there is a CEO, doesn't matter. You chose the $10 billion market cap. If there's a CEO who can humanize oneself to be active on social media, they win. They win.
I agree.
So what you've got in big or small market cap med tech is you've got CEOs who are basically saying this: I'm going to let marketing be the voice box.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to hear from marketing. They want to hear from Pat Miles at ATEC Spine. They want to hear from so-and-so.
Yep.
The CEO,
totally agree.
the president or the CEO who humanizes oneself, understands how to deliver content that's not self-promotional, that's approachable, wins, period. So if I had to pick a company, it would be Medtronic.
Do it, Jeff Martha. You're right. I agree.
Well,
I agree.
Yeah.
The only other one I would say that trumps Jeff, but it's a startup, is Joe Urban at Potrero, who's killing it. But I would say of all the big box medtech companies, Jeff Martha at Medtronic. Yeah, I agree. Eric, you have a comment on that?
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember his name, but the new CMO, he's been there almost a year now at Medtronic.
Marketing officer or medical officer?
Medical officer.
Let me look him up real quick.
Yeah, he was a big TikTok guy, and he had like 400,000 followers.
Austin Miles. For their GI division.
Yeah, exactly. And he and I went back and forth on LinkedIn, some messaging back and forth, and he made it clear to me that this was going to be something that they explored moving forward. Now, I haven't seen much of anything. There doesn't seem to be a strategy in place yet, but I believe that Medtronic is going to dip their toe in, or I shouldn't even say dip the toe. I think they're going to go full in if they can. The interesting thing is going to be, they all have social media, policies and guidelines. And the interesting thing is going to be what they are going to allow, what they won't allow, and their liability in this whole situation. Yeah. And is there liability? I'm sure there is.
There's always liability.
Yeah, there's something,
right?
But they're scared to death of it. I will tell you. I mean, I was in a big organization that rolled out these social media policies, and you were like, wait a minute. So basically, I can't. That's what you're telling me. I can't put anything on social media. So it's going to be interesting.
Isn't it interesting, Eric? You and I have talked about this. Here's what I find. It's not that people don't know how to be compliant. For the record, any of us who are non-compliant, we're a knucklehead, we should be held accountable.
Yep.
Yeah,
so
totally.
None of us struggle with that. The sad thing is we know people who are being let go because they're being told, shut up and dribble, LeBron, fit into a box, stop trying to stand out, fit in. We know people from big med tech companies that are being fired. When you look at, were they fired for being non-compliant? No. They were let go because they didn't fit into a box. Mm-hmm. And this is where it's going to get really, really interesting in 2023. Rep Freedom, Stu.
Well,
Eric.
What I would add to that is I know one company's going to. I have no idea what company it is. But the interesting thing to me is, 4 or 5 months ago, I reached out to every president of the big 4 orthopedic companies, inviting them onto a podcast to talk about, the rep in 2022, their problems, issues, etc. Because we all know that reps are having issues and are frustrated. None of them came on, and I only got a response from one.
Yeah, and
I'm surprised you got a response from one.
Oh, and MDR had to hop off. He says thanks and goodbye and good luck. He sends his love. Yeah, and I think here's the thing. I learned a long time ago, as they say, the fish stinks from the head, and so I think that the more a CEO embraces this approach, the better off. And I'm going to use Joe Urban just as an example. So Joe Urban over at Potrero, 100% embraces. Put himself as like collateral damage between himself, between me and the board, right? And as Joe started to post more, it changed the behavior of the employees. So like engineers were posting what they were working on, right? That helped us with investors and raising money because they're like, oh, they're working on really interesting stuff. It helped us with recruiting. The sales team started creating content. And then when sales started posting content, this isn't like cinema, Hollywood produced content. They would take photos of the it's a capital equipment piece of the monitors on the floor being delivered to a hospital. And then the CEO posts that. And so you're constantly having this stream of adoption of the technology, market traction, which is going to help with attracting new customers, right? Because not everybody sits on the same part of the adoption curve. It helps with attracting new investors because not every investor sits on the same adoption curve as well, right? And so there's just so many ways that this benefits. And I think that the big loss, and I'm going to I think this is something that we've all dealt with. There are employees that want to do this. They want to share something they learned from a surgeon, or at the very least, hey, I'm going through this leadership course. I want to share what I learned. They've been scared to not post anything, which is illegal, by the way. I just want to make that very clear for everybody listening. It is illegal for a company to tell you cannot post this. If it's something related to the company or product, everything, yeah, don't make claims. Don't post about the product. But they cannot control your brand. It's just like we live in America. It's like we have freedom of speech. It's freedom of brand, right? But I think it's this dark regulatory body of like the managers, like, hey, you're spending too much time on LinkedIn. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? I liked a few posts and commented on once or twice this week. So you're spending too much time on there.
Well, Omar, I don't know why with that, because LinkedIn and the way it works is if the 4 of us work for one company higher up, I could check LinkedIn at one time and see, Joe, the sales rep, commented or liked. Eric could check it 2 hours later, see the same thing. Matthew, 2 hours later, see the same thing. You 2 hours. So the way it works is it could appear someone is on there all the time because all of us are seeing it.
That's right.
And in fact, we spend very little time because, as Matthew Ray likes to say, posting on LinkedIn is the salesperson that never sleeps.
Yeah, 100%. That's a great way to put it.
It turns out that people buy from people.
Mm-hmm. Amazing.
People buy from people.
Wait a minute, not a brochure. You're saying not a brochure.
Yeah, I'm going to get back to you on that, Eric.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Thank you. I'm down at the bottom again.
Right. People buy from people. So I just used Pat Miles as an example. Pat's a friend, and I'm here to tell you, if Pat Miles, who is beloved by surgeons, by spine surgeons. If Pat Miles twice a month just shares what's up, game over. ATEC will surpass NuVasive.
Yes.
They will punch DePuy Synthes in the Adam's apple.
And they got great tech.
It's game on.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know. Now, Pat Miles, I guarantee you, I'm going to get a text message. I worked for Pat. Great boss. ATEC's a client. But I'm not saying this to blow smoke. I'm just telling you that he's the CEO that taught me people buy from people. If Pat Miles twice a month, he'll hate me for this. He'll text me. He'll say, Matthew, what the heck? I can't believe that you dropped my name. If Pat Miles, or in parentheses, inspirational leader who's focused on keeping people informed. Here's the beautiful thing, is that you can be us, the four of us, who are not a $10 billion market cap. If we keep people informed, we will develop awareness that can lead to thought awareness or thought leadership. That after thought leadership, the phone will be ringing. And that's what I've learned. And if anybody's listening to us right now, you don't have to be a CEO of a $10 billion company. You have to be worthy of just having something to say that can help that ideal customer that you're trying to help. It could be peer-to-peer. I mean, like you guys, when I was carrying a bag, I was picking up the phone on the road, getting ready for a sales call, calling my Smith & Nephew buddies, the Eric Andersons, calling my NuVasive buddies, my Medtronic buddies, saying, what advice do you have for me? That's what I was doing. Now, what an opportunity we have through on-demand courses, through constant LinkedIn, just content. People have a high degree of a full of crap filter. So right now, people can go to our content and they can go, are these guys self-appointing or are they being generous? And I love that equalizing factor.
Absolutely. I got a question. We got a bunch of questions. And by the way,
actually,
we might have yeah, go ahead. I was going to say, we have another special guest trying to get on too. So he'll be on. So Stu, jump in.
What I would add to that is that take all of these large companies, any piece of content that they're putting, they're positioning themselves as the hero of the story. And, and that is the problem. As you know, Matthew, you're a Donald Miller fan. Story brand is they're not the hero of the story.
That's right.
Exactly.
Their customer and the end patient are the heroes of the story. And you don't see anything other than, we're J&J, we're awesome. We provide this or that. We're Stryker. We're, Dr. Homer Stryker. He dominated the marketplace.
It's like, great. Who cares? Right.
That's exactly right.
And you know what? Like, I think we would all agree. Like, I'm using Apple products. Apple, I think every med device company should aspire to be Apple, which is your brand and your products are so good, people adopt them even though they hate you. Like, I hate Apple. I hate them. I just spent more money with them last week. But Steve Jobs. Yeah, everybody 100%. Agrees Steve Jobs was a brilliant marketer. You know who Steve Jobs really looked up to in the marketing realm? Nike. Every Nike commercial, what do? It's never about the product. They're always celebrating the athlete. Because it's like this feeling, this thing, right? And I'm waiting, like, especially in the world of not just surgery, but especially, look, let's face it, orthopedics is very much like a professional sport, right? I'm waiting for one orthopedic company to say, you know what? Nobody has gone with a campaign or a brand where it's like, we're celebrating great orthopedic surgeons. Why is that so difficult? Like,
well, even on the orthopedic surgeon side, I mean, I know we've all seen Matt Barber with the world champion belt that he has his patients hold up after a joint replacement.
I may or may not be spending the holidays in a beach house with a dude with a World Wrestling Federation belt. I may or may not be.
This sounds like a good live stream.
Oh, it is. Eric, allegedly you live in Florida, so there could be an invite.
By the way, guys, sorry to jump in. We have like, I don't think we're going to get to all of them, but we have a bunch of questions. And so I've gotten messages from people be like, hey, what the F? Like, can you ask so let me get to one. By the way, Douglas did not tell me that. This is somebody else who I don't even know who the hell this person is. And they're like, dude, what the hell? Why don't you ask my question? I'm like, that's definitely one way for me not to ask the question.
Right. We'll shelve the wrestler at a beach house in Alabama for later.
So we got Douglas Runyon. So Doug, I want to give context for whose question I'm bringing out. Douglas Runyon, he's in my program, and I see our next guest is just joining. We just lost him. He'll jump back on. So Douglas came on, zero presence online, completely, and this guy within one weekend gets through materials and is just like posting stuff. It was ugly to start with because it's just like walking. It's like it's not going to be pretty, and now like I actually I go through a lot of content. I really look forward to this guy's content. And his question is a follow-up to ask you, which is how would you suggest sales teams partnering up with the marketing teams to bridge the gap to compliantly develop DOLs or digital opinion leaders? Let's go, Tim Donahue. See you at the top, Ziegler. And hey, Douglas, if you keep it going, not only will I see you at the top, hey, I'm going to see you over the top.
Oh, boom.
That was good.
Nice.
Right.
You got to wear a sweater for that comment.
Yeah, you definitely got to wear a sweater for that. I'll take this and then I'll just kind of kick it off. I think the best way for sales team to compliantly partner with marketing is to leave the product marketing to marketing, right? Meaning that let them market the product, let them deal with the claims and everything. Whatever videos and photos they post on the company page, take the exact same video or photo, post yourself, and take their language. Outside of that, create content and say, hey, in my market, how do I tell a story about who I am as an individual, my characters, my qualities, my values? How do I entertain and educate? And at the same time, the customers I have, whether you have one customer or 10, how do I put a spotlight on them and be like, man, look at this exciting thing. And by the way, that waiting till like the 100th robotic case is not anything special. Nobody cares about those. Something else, right? That's how I think it starts. But let me let the group jump in, and then let me see about our next guest and see if I can help them out to get on.
Well, I'll chime in with this. I'll put a challenge out there. At your national sales meeting that's going to start in January at some point in time, because they all do, stand up in the meeting and say, hey, will somebody from marketing spend a day with me in the field and watch what I do, and we can learn from each other? I guarantee you there will be a marketing manager that will go, that's a great idea. And then they'll tell everybody they came up with the idea. But
that's true. They will say that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then you can spend time and at least share with what happens in the field, because as we've all just said, marketing just doesn't understand. And I don't know. I always say, I mean, I make several posts. I try not to just rail on marketing departments, but
you should. No, you should.
I do. And
you just did.
Yeah, I just did.
I try not to rail on marketing departments, but man, they're just dogs, all of them.
Well, and the reason they can be dogs is we're in a very high margin business. And if you watch in other businesses that don't have the margins like we do, they're not. They are assassins, and they're good at what they do. I mean, if I I'm going to go to some meetings in January, national sales meetings. If I show up and I get another stupid brochure that's got, the different angle of this product or that product, I'm going to puke. So I'm probably going to puke. But, that's the problem. And anyway. So I would just say that's the challenge I would put out to people. Try to get marketing to come out in the field. That will at least start the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you forgot to say respectfully, Eric.
Oh, respectfully. Because if you say, Stu and I say this, if you say respectfully, you can be a jerk. That's what
correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eric and I learned that from Matthew. Respectfully,
Well,
you're dumb.
if you were really listening, instead of respectfully, you can bow up to allegedly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What I would say on this conversation, and Douglas and I have actually talked about this a little bit, is you need to go to them because they're the corporate people and humbly just say, look, we understand the world is changing. We understand social media is going to be part of this. LinkedIn's going to be part of this. What is the best way that we can collectively do this?
That's so good. That's so good, Stu.
And be able to be humble enough to learn something from them, because guarantee I can learn something I didn't know from a marketing department from one of the companies I work with.
Yeah, that's so good. Douglas, shout out, bro. Love what you're doing. Douglas is a medical sales RX guy. Same thing came through. Douglas, we're watching you. We see you on LinkedIn. You are making a difference. You work in an organization. You are the trusted guide. Like Stu said, the element of a brand story is you're never the hero in the journey. You're a trusted guide. You're doing it, Douglas. Everything that you're aligned to. Douglas, here's what's important. A DOL concept is based on the principle that you find surgeons who are interested in sharing their ideas and their voice. Take KOLs who were old school, gripping the podium, and find DOLs who feel confident in sharing their ideas for the betterment of their industry or their specialty. Pick them. And what will happen? I mean, we all know Dr. Scott Sigman. Hey, Dr. Sigman and I, every weekend for the past 3 weeks, we've been doing DOL campaigns in different sectors. We will get millions of views that register to thousands of interested eyeballs. Compare that to the ROI of a traditional, hey, let's build a big booth. Let's have a bar bill of this. Let's have a, airline travel bill of this. We will cut through the clutter quicker by having surgeons who already have followings, who have a voice that aligns with the parent company. Hands down. And so where have I been every weekend? Working on DOL campaigns.
We had
somebody let that dog out of the cage in the background.
we had our guest up. I'm messaging with him. He's in another country, so he's having issues with the internet. He's gonna try one more time. While he does that, though, let's see if we can bring up some.
I can't wait till Will Ferrell comes on. That's
it's gonna happen, man. It's gonna happen. Oh man, wait.
Hey Eric, I can help you with that. Pam.
Uh-oh.
Oh, wait a minute. What's that? The People's Champ. I bring you Johnny Cafaro from Costa Rica, everybody.
Dude, Johnny's got the green screen.
I'm up top again. I'm up top.
We did
What's up,
it.
Johnny? We did it. Oh my God, Johnny Cafaro, man. This is like, I feel like I'm talking to you from like 2005 MySpace or something. This is amazing.
I know. I'm so sorry. A little small screen, green screen behind me.
It works, man.
How are we doing, everybody?
Johnny, did you break free from an IUSQ episode to join us, or how does this work?
Yes, I broke free. I fucking.
You're not dressed like you're in Park City. I know that.
Yeah.
So Johnny, quick, maybe you can give us some insight. You've done a really great job with your professional brand and on LinkedIn in terms of leadership and inspiration. Maybe kind of tell us a little bit about your journey and like your thoughts on how 2022 was.
Still.
Yes, and you're definitely delayed. Hold on. Well, we're gonna make this work.
If you cut his video.
It's possible. Johnny, try turning your video off. That might help, actually.
Is that better?
Sad if I'm the
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, Stu Brandon, man.
Stu has a lot of experience in foreign countries with video and audio. Just let me know.
Yeah, Johnny, we can hear you. So, Johnny, question to you is like, give us your sort of review of 2022. What do you think are some big things for reps that you see in 2023? No rush, though. Just take as much time as you need to think about it.
Yeah. Guys, you cut that out. Omar, what'd you say?
I was gonna say what do you think about 2023? Some trends you see for reps in 2023.
No, I didn't hear you. That's the issue.
Oh, can you hear me now? You know what? I know why. Here, Johnny, look at the screen. There we go. Wait, trends. I'm dyslexic as hell right now. I'm not even drinking. Hold on, we're gonna get this to work. All right, Johnny. We're gonna try one more time. Oh, he's gone.
He's gone.
He might be in an ayahuasca ceremony. That's very possible, actually.
Oh, it's happening. He's got a spirit guide with him right now. I can feel it.
You know, I don't know how I would feel if I was at an ayahuasca ceremony and I talked to the four of us through a small camera.
No doubt.
It'd be very interesting, though. I would like to see that happen.
You know, I do like to believe that this show is kind of like a religious experience, though.
Yes.
There you go.
All right. While we wait for him to come back, we had. Let's see. Chris Gross, we're going to try and answer this question. Okay. Do any of you guys have unique wins feedback that you want to share with us? As a medical sales RX grad, big shout out to you, Chris Gross. My first week, I received almost immediate responses from my personalized videos. 2 providers said they wish more reps were using this technology. Chris Gross. Like, I'll give you a great example. And again, you know, I get asked this all, you know, from time to time, which is talk to a rep. This happened literally a week ago. Talk to a rep. They've been in the industry for 15 years now. Last time they invested themselves in any kind of professional development was like a book, like Challenger Sale, like 5 years ago, right? And so their question to me was, what should I do? Should I do your course? Should I do medical sales, or should I do this? I'm like, why do you pick one? You don't pick one. You're good for the next 10 years, right? And so I think like some wins is like seeing people with just very minimal effort to start getting wins. Like Douglas got you know, feedback from surgeons like within, I think, the first month of starting both programs. Another person, Guida Lovera, is like, when she joined, I think she had like 70 followers on LinkedIn. 3 months later, she's at 4,000 followers. She's got 20,000 on Instagram, all around biologics and spine and everything. So those are some wins on my end. Let me add Johnny to stream, and gents, you guys, you know, sort of, you know, chime in on this.
Sorry, guys. Is this better?
Yeah, it's better, man. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I just bought some data, so hopefully we're good.
Oh my God, that is awesome.
Hey, Johnny,
Dedication.
charge it to my account and to your spirit guide. I'll pay him off.
I'll tell my shaman all about it.
You need to, bro. You need to.
So let's go around, Johnny. While we have you for a little bit, we're talking about like wins for the year, in terms of like using new channels to communicate with surgeons in the market and everything. I know that you've been experimenting with a lot of on your professional brand. Maybe some wins and things that you've seen are positive signs for the industry.
Yeah, I mean, positive signs are social media. I mean, as many companies are pushing against it, I mean, we all want a personal brand, and I think that's really growing in the industry. And I think it's really sad about the fact that companies don't see it as a benefit; they see it as a hindrance. And I never think that it should overshadow the company. It's actually promoting the company. It's free marketing. And I think that was a huge win for me to be able to establish that and continue it and have a voice. And I think with that, I had to be able to add a little bit of fashion to it with my Cafaro shoes and be able to mix a different brands. I didn't have to just be solely medical or solely Stryker. I was something else. I was Johnny Cafaro, not Johnny from Stryker or Johnny from a medical company. And I think that's what's really drove this year is I've seen so many different individuals become personal brands themselves.
100%. And I think what's interesting is that, and this is kind of when I was at Petro, like I started in Petro 2017. This is the first thing I told Joe Urban, which is like, hey, I personally believe in employees having their own brand outside of the company, because that's going to be interesting to both investors, the market, and people who are trying to recruit, right? So the fact that, for example,
100%.
Yeah, like for me, I had a book show. I had a live book show. I did a book review every single week for 3 years. A lot of people, both investors, customers, and potential employees I hired, found out about me because they found that interesting, and then they found out about the company as a result of it. I don't know about you, Johnny. I'm just going to say it. There are plenty of people outside of big ortho and outside of med device who had no idea who the hell Stryker was and found out about Stryker because of you, right?
100%. And even to go back, I mean, when I was at United Orthopedics, I mean, Taiwanese-based company, nobody knew about it until I brought it to light with social media. And it was phenomenal because I was selling it in a different way. I wasn't saying, hey, this is my knee, this is my hip, this is what we're doing here, and mixing it with my personal brand. And I brought in a little bit of fashion with the Cafaro shoes. And then when they saw the Cafaro shoes, they'd go, okay, he also knows about hips too. I can trust this guy. He's also had hips. Let me talk to him a little bit more. And then I became a trusted source or an ally. And that's what's become so big, is that's what you can become on social media platforms. And you're not going to just push the company's brand anymore and push their regular post, the generic. I mean, I did a post, I don't know if you guys all saw it, the features and benefits of me kind of making fun of and mocking the industry.
That was my favorite. I love that one. This is after you left Stryker, by the way, for context.
Yes, after I left Stryker. And sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. Finish your thoughts. Sorry.
No, and I feel like if we can start thinking outside the box, I mean, I hit up Matthew Ray Scott. I mean, what was that, 2.5 years ago?
Yeah.
Like, it was just
Johnny. Here's my recollection of you connecting with me and us staying plugged in to this day. I remember thinking you were going to make yourself indispensable. Now, indispensable gets interesting. Indispensable means you've got a responsibility with your employer to do your job. You did that. Indispensable means that other companies are trying to poach you. You did that. Indispensable means that if you decide to go in a different direction and run the pirate flag up the flagpole, you can do that. So you crossed the chasm on all three of those, Johnny. And so just in you and I going through this process, what I'm so proud of is you honored your commitment and you brought great credit upon your parent company, yourself, and just as importantly, your profession of medical sales. And the reason why you, quote unquote, are not going to struggle to either build a career or get a job is because you went on LinkedIn, you added generous value, we found you interesting, and you were the guy that taught us our self-identity is not just in what we sell, but it's what we believe in. It's the journey of how we're growing as an individual, your ability to make yourself vulnerable, and your origin story of how orthopedics was meaningful to you, football player, chronic, condition, which made you a trusted guide in the journey. So I'm super, super proud of you.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, as you've made those 3 points that I did across those things, I made my parent company proud. I made my personal company, my personal brand. At times it's not easy though, right? I mean, I'm going to let you guys know, in 9 months, 2 companies let me go, which was baffling to me in a sense, because I thought I was doing a great service to them. I thought I was bringing anterior hips back to the forefront of another company. I thought I was bringing a Taiwanese company back to the US and be able to show something. And it's okay. They didn't appreciate, or they were scared of it. And that's okay, because I wasn't scared to be who I was. And that's the most important thing. Is I know it's hard to start, and people like, well, I already missed the boat 2 years ago. Why would I start now? But like, everybody has a story, and everybody can relate. And that's where I wanted just to be able to tell my story, how though give people a chance to be able to have their own voice. And that's why I promote so many different people and friendships on here, because Instagram is look at me, look what I'm eating, look where I'm traveling. But LinkedIn is look at my community, look at our tribe, look what we can all do. And I appreciate.
Yeah. LinkedIn is a tribe. It's a tribe based on beautiful values.
Awesome.
It turns out if you're full of crap on LinkedIn, you will be found out.
That's true.
That's true.
It turns
Very
out
true.
if behind the scenes, one person at a time, DM, never to make public awareness that you help people and you care, it turns out that you're going to develop a tribe. And what's unique about LinkedIn, in my opinion, is for whatever reason, we were all brought together in this healthcare field, in medical sales, but more importantly, we understood our role of how to support, and I'll use this word, surgeons or physicians. We understood our role. And over the years, we have developed relationships, friendships that cross all boundaries. And what I think is going to be the next pivot, because Johnny, before you jumped on, we were talking about kind of like looking into 2023. Okay. And I'd love to get your take and everybody else's take, which is 2023, in my opinion, is going to be the year of medical sales consultants who understand the value of relationships, and they're going to join the Stu and the Erics and the New Age and the Marvel group. And they're going to, for once, get rewarded on the sacred relationship between physician and trusted guide. And it's going to change. But guess what? Big ortho, big spine is going to hire W-2 employees, and they're going to go do their job. But 1099s who view themselves as free agents are going to change our industry. And most of us are going to go, oh my goodness, what an entrepreneurial model that I never knew that I had. And Johnny, you're going through that process right now, and we salute you for that.
Yeah, 100%, man. Couldn't
No,
have said it
absolutely. I
better.
appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. No, I agree, because the power is in the relationships. And that's where big ortho or big spine don't understand. They think the surgeon or the relationship is with the company.
Yeah.
It is in the relationship of the distributor or the rep. Like when I was a rep, I had the surgeon's personal calendar, his wife's calendar. I had everybody's calendar on my phone to exactly know where they are. Not a single person at the company had that. And so I feel like you nailed that, Matthew Ray Scott, is that everybody is going to move in that direction and be able to benefit off that relationship finally if they get, I'm going to say it, if they have the balls to finally just let go of those golden handcuffs and be able to know, like, I'm going to better my life and my family's life if I take this jump or this risk like I have done. I could have gone to a couple different companies. I could have gone to a few others, but you're like, you know what? I have a lot of relationships. I'm going to go for it and see where it goes.
100%, man. I felt the exact same way myself. Beginning of this year, I was coming back from the SaaS industry, and I was going to go into devices. I remember I told my wife, who was pregnant at the time with our first, I was like, man, I'm getting really great offers for a lot of money, but I don't feel anything. Like, and she was the one who's just like, you should start your own company. I'm like, yeah, I should. And I think part of it is just like, I've spoken to reps, and I'm like, man, aren't you tired of doing the song and dance? You know, because I was like, look, you're killing yourself on the road. And so, you know, not all these people, not every rep is like in their 20s. There's a lot of reps, men and women who are in their 40s and their 50s. They have kids, they have grandchildren, working themselves to the bone, you know, on the road. And at any moment, I talked to, look, perfect example. I talked to a rep. This broke my heart. I talked to a gentleman a month ago, 56 years old. He's been a rep his entire life, which, man, you know, into my late 20s, it was wearing on my body. So this guy made it to his 50s doing this. And he told me, he's like, you know, yeah, it's unbelievable. His company laid off a bunch of people, increased his territory, so he's on the road more often. And then for him to hit quota, he had to hit it in like 4 different buckets, which tells me it's a terrible product, you know? And he's like, and they reduced my salary, my base pay. And I was like, what's your base pay? And this guy's based out of Florida. And he's like, my base pay right now is $35K. And I was like, are you kidding me? Yeah, it's a reality, you know?
Omar, we've got people listening to us right now, and they know what it's like to stand tall in the operating room or to, you know, be present in a patient waiting room, trying to get past Gloria the gatekeeper. We've got people that are listening to us right now. Here's what I find interesting. For those of us who were in the operating room theater, our best ideas, I bet you Eric, Stu, and Johnny, Omar, you'll agree with me. Our best idea is we're standing tall in the operating room in the thick of the chaos, waiting to, or proactively making, decisions that help our surgeon, that help that patient. We know what it's like to have great thoughts. I remember vividly, I'm telling you, I remember exactly the operating room number and hospital that I was at, where I was like, the key is to pivot 15 degrees to the left and right of what I was hired to do. And I had my epiphany, and it was a road to Damascus for me. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, everything that I've been doing for the past 20 years and my aha eureka moment, it's only a 15-degree pivot. And I think that, and Johnny, your testimony to this, I think that most medical sales consultants who are in the thick of things think, what can I do now? And the answer is, it's 15 degrees to the right or left of what you've already been doing. That's where the solution is. And so, like for me, when I pivoted from MedTech to becoming the healthcare brand agency that helps private practice surgeons avoid the traditional money pit of marketing, one person's viewpoint is that's ridiculous. It's a cross-continental journey for you being a medical sales consultant. No. It was this close to me. Because that's what I heard.
Because you had everything. About. You've done all that. You've done it 24/7. That was, you eat, breathe, and sleep it. All you did was come up with a tiny little bit of an idea where, okay, I'm going to come up with a video.
That's right. Johnny, you said it well. Here's the key for any medical sales consultants that are on the fence post. The key is to answer, are you running towards or away from something? That's the Daryl Scott, my father was the original Kingsman Colin Firth before Colin Firth was Colin Firth. And I'll never forget my dad saying, Matthew, the key is, are you running towards or away from something? He was right. And so that's part of the easy proposition. What I think is interesting about this group of people, I love the way that you guys inspire me to pour courage and value into what we're doing as medical sales consultants, but build a bridge to say your self-identity was never just being a medical sales consultant. The minute that you realize that we're all in sales, most people don't know it yet, you've got versatility.
Totally. Totally agree.
I love how all of us have also put a personal touch on it as well. I've read every single one of your guys' posts, and we talk about family, we talk about friends, we talk about hardships, and we also want to be able to be relatable. And that's what brings us to be to the forefront, because we're not scared to share and be vulnerable. Like you said, like we have that option, and people want to be able to hear that. And it's also like you're creating bedside manners almost, in a sense, so people can work with you, and you're helping your surgeons be able to see that. And I love that aspect about all of us right here on this call, because we all have done it. And I love each one of your guys' stories. And like, that's the most powerful. Sometimes like we talk about MedTech, we sell stuff, but my most and greatest posts are talking about how I've overcome something, or how I've established something, or how I've created something new or different. And like, I think that's what really helps, and people will be able to follow and understand it. Like, hey, I want to be like them.
So yeah, LinkedIn definitely has a tribal element to it. It goes from, do I have common ground or synergy with somebody that may lead to an offline conversation? I've had offline conversations with all of you guys, and you have had dark 30 in the morning conversations with people on LinkedIn that have been meaningful to them and to you.
Yeah. So what we've just been talking about right here, is this the thing that the big companies are the most scared about? is you have someone like Johnny who's putting himself out there, telling his story. People are liking him. Well, okay, Johnny's not ours anymore. We can't control him. Other people want him. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing behind all the non-competes is we can do whatever now, and you have no options. You have to
and you know what these big companies are afraid of? I think it's two specific things. One is like these companies, once you quote unquote cross some kind of a chasm and you have like mainstream market share for something, Medtronic, Strykers, J&Js of the world, you get to that point, you stay there because your systems and processes are so rigid and conservative that nobody can screw up the company, which you need that. Like Medtronic cannot operate like a startup. It would be a terrible idea. Right. The moment that something starts to stick out, like if you're a nail and you stand out, you get hammered back in. And so it feels like you're losing control. It also feels like something can happen. Like, oh, what if a rep says something that shareholders see and then they dump the stock, which is insane, by the way. I dare anybody, if you're able to, with your LinkedIn post, make a stock dip, like, please call me. Actually, that would be pretty interesting to watch.
I'd love to do that article. Yeah,
that'd be Johnny, we talked about this before you jumped on board. We can all agree if we are non-compliant, we're knuckleheads. We should be held accountable.
Yeah, 100%.
The issue is not, are you held accountable? The issue is, can you please just fit in? Yeah. And it's rooted in insecurity. And Johnny, you did something that the rest of us did not have to do, which is you came in on day one as somebody who worked for big companies, but you had interest and a voice outside of orthopedics.
Yep.
So shame.
It's like, are you kidding me? We got somebody who talks about something other than trocars.
Yeah. And what's funny? I actually haven't told Johnny this. So I remember like in January or February of this year, Johnny, when you and I connected, I remember talking because I went through something similar myself it was a public company where I had a brand. I was posting, and writing articles back in 2016. It's not Mazor Robotics, by the way. Mazor was great. It's the company after that. And I told Johnny, I was like, this is awesome. You're a trucker. I was like, I guarantee you, I was like, this party's going to be over soon. And these people are going to try and put you under their thumb. And Johnny was like, you think so? I'm like, yeah, man. And what's interesting is that I've read every post that Johnny has posted because I turned on notifications because I was like, I want to see Johnny. There's not a single post that you wrote. And I worked as a head of marketing at different medtech companies, not a single post you wrote that was not non-compliant, that was unprofessional. All of them were great. And I was like, and I actually changed my mind. I was like, maybe actually he might be good. What's funny is that I went through the same thing you went through. And at least for me, I ended up getting like laid off. They couldn't fire me because I was doing a good job. And I actually had a fashion brand at the same time too. And I was like, man, I was like, that's what the issue is. That's where he screwed up. It shouldn't have been a fashion thing. But so I think MRS is correct, is that it's an insecurity thing and they don't know what to do with it. But you know what? It's like, again, this is a stereotypical startup example, but it's a good one. Look at Netflix. Netflix had a business that was making billions of dollars sending movies to people. And they decided, hey, look, streaming is kind of coming and it's a threat to our own business. So either we let somebody cannibalize our business or we're just going to cannibalize it ourselves. And they said, we're going to cannibalize it ourselves. I think it's the same thing with big medtech. It's like, look, we can't control every single one of these reps. So either we're going to keep fighting it and we're going to look like idiots because when somebody else changes, we're going to follow everybody else, or we're just going to accept it and just be like, hey, we're going to just roll with this. I'm waiting for Elon to buy a medtech company. Do you think that's possible?
Oh, it'd be unbelievable. That would be phenomenal. But the crazy thing is like, as I was going through these big companies, I mean, I just found out that most of these big ortho or big spine companies have just barely within this year hired a social media manager.
Yes.
This year.
Yes. And that social media manager. Yeah. Most of the time, no offense, I'm not picking on anybody in particular, but in general, when I see these people who are hired to like either manage social media or be a head of those departments. They got like a year or two under their belt, and I'm like, man, this person's in for a world of hurt, like,
Yeah, because
except
they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I'll give, who I have to call out, at least in the spine ortho world. Tony Recupero over at SI Bone has done it right from day one, from like 3 years ago. Hired somebody to be head of digital marketing. They hired a VP out of the consumer world. So they actually have been trying, right, and doing a good job. So I gotta give a shout out to Tony and SI.
I just think it's important to figure out where people want to go. If they're going to listen, they're all very successful to get to where they are today, right? They did a great job, but where they want to go to, they have to pivot or change or they're going to die, right?
And absolutely.
And that's where I felt like I was coming in. And Omar, it was you took the time, you came to my house during vacation, on your vacation time. We connected. It was
that was amazing.
And we got to be able to communicate and talk. And we did a great post together. And we were talking. And I'm like, go ahead.
And for context, I just want, for the record, respectfully, Johnny is very tall. He's 6'7". I am not short. I am very tall myself, but Johnny just happens to be taller. I just want to make that clear. Okay, sorry, Johnny, continue.
No, you're good. My thing was I felt like I was doing a service for the company I was working at. I felt like I was giving them good publicity, like bringing a product to market, bringing a procedure to market. And like Omar's like, hey man, just be careful, watch out. And I'm like, I think I'm doing okay. I never imagined in 9 months that my thumb would be I would be pushed down and like, shut up and dribble, LeBron, and figure out what you're doing and just repost the company page. I'm like, listen, I will never repost a company page ever in my life.
Absolutely. And I tell, what's crazy? I come from marketing. I tell marketing people all the time. I said, you cannot tell employees to post like your lame ass stuff from your company page. You just can't do it. You can't do it, and you shouldn't, right?
People buy from people.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing? And I think, again, like, these companies, I'll make it. I don't know if this is a prediction, but it's something that I was very disappointed about. I mean, I'm not surprised. Part of me, I kind of enjoyed it. But, big tech has tried to come into healthcare because, when you're like an Amazon or Google and you have that big of a market cap, like there's only so many other places to grow. And so with something with a GDP of 20%, or 20% of our GDP, they go into healthcare. They've all failed miserably.
Yep.
And so when Amazon, Google, and everything, they've made their push into tech, Apple as well, they all failed. And mainly it's because they came with a tech model of making money. And it just doesn't work that way. And at least from a few years ago, I was like, this is perfect. This is the pressure that our industry needs to change. And now when that all failed, that's why I feel like a lot of device companies haven't adopted the way they should, because tech kind of failed and they're like, oh yeah, we're good. We're good. Yeah. We don't have to change anything. Like I heard a rep the other day on a call with me. He's like, dude, look, man, like, Matthew, and Eric, I was going to share this with you. There's a guy who literally told me, he's like, look, man, he's like, I love what you guys are doing. I love what like medical sales are actually doing. He's like, but bro, like COVID's kind of over. And like, I mean, yeah, I'll learn how to do this stuff.
Oh, I saw that post. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's a post? No, I'm talking about a conversation.
You wrote it.
Oh,
you wrote a couple of your posts. You said,
yeah, on my
I had 5 conversations. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, I don't need to change.
That's why back to normal.
Yeah.
Or COVID
that's why this industry hasn't changed, because there's not been enough pain for the future. And that's my biggest prediction for 2023. Pain. That's what
Absolutely.
I predict.
Pain.
On that note,
guys, my on that note, my speed by purchase is running out, and I gotta go.
Johnny, thanks. Hey man, thanks for joining us, brother. Hey Johnny,
absolutely,
Johnny,
for inviting me.
Hit me up when you get back to the states. Hit me up when you're back stateside.
Yeah, so I won't lose my passport this time.
Oh yes, that's important.
All right, guys, I really appreciate it. Everybody,
right,
awesome.
Hey, Johnny.
Christmas, happy holidays. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, brother.
Yep.
See you later.
So
I'm going to. Yes, Stu.
With the big company thing, is it that tech comes in and it's a drastic shift where really the disruption in industries is, like Matthew says, a 15-degree pivot? I mean, what industry is there something that polar opposite comes out and it gets adapted?
Nothing. It just, like what I would say is that, I think it's small degrees of changes, but I think the biggest thing is that to really, like, I don't like this word of disruption, because disruption by definition means that we're using what we currently have. And to really change, like, you have to like leave all of this and go like right over here. Right. And I think sometimes that it's not necessarily it's a polar opposite, but it's like, oh, this is different. So like when anybody from Medical Sales RX does this outreach, like the reaction, as I don't know if it was Douglas or somebody else who said it, is that surgeons say, I've never received anything like this before. Right. It's just different. It's going to elicit a different emotion and everything. Right. And so I think like, change doesn't have to be this big, polar opposite thing overnight. But part of it is just like a mindset to say, hey, you know what? People are different. We have to change. Look, I'm going to give a perfect example. At the beginning of this year, this is for my own small business. I run a small business. Beginning of this year, I was able to take plenty of upfront payments for my program. My average buyer, including me, got used to Amazon, Affirm, where it's like, hey, you just bought, $60 worth of gym clothes. Hey, you can pay $60 now or pay $60 at 0% interest over the next 12 months. Guess what people choose? Like 0% interest? I'm going to do that. Guess what I had to do as a small business? As much as I didn't like it, I have to now introduce 0% interest payments to offer to people. Not because they need it, because they want it. Doesn't matter what my opinion is. It's the same thing with devices. It's like, yeah, is it nice to go in person and meet the surgeon? Yeah, I love in-person selling. There's a whole different energy to it. We can't do that anymore.
Definitely.
Let's see. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. And by the way, gents, like we'll be going a solid 2 hours. So like when I'm the host, so I have to. It's like I threw the party, so I have to make sure that I just hang around. So whenever each of you have to hop up, like don't feel shy about that at all. Go ahead, Eric. If you have to hop,
yeah, I gotta jump. I gotta be at a dinner. And
yeah, you guys are 3 hours ahead of me, so all good.
Yeah. So hey, thanks everybody for doing this. This is fantastic, and let's do it again soon.
Oh heck yeah, absolutely. Yeah. See you later, Eric. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
We got Eric's getting off. We can jump into the real important stuff.
That's right. Yeah, all right. Man, that Eric guy. So you know what? We got a couple questions. Actually, here we got somebody here's a name that we recognize. Patrick Jamnick. So Patrick, hey Patrick, welcome on. Patrick says products in orthopedics are almost never disruptive. 6 months before marketing departments start saying disruptive, game-changing, etc., someone in regulatory affairs at the company went to a lot of trouble to prove to the FDA how similar that revolutionary product was to something already on the market. Yeah. Boom. Facts. That's what a 510K is for, right?
Yeah.
That needs to be a meme. Thanks, Patrick. I'm going to write that down as a meme idea. Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead, Patrick is somebody that we know from Medical Sales RX. He is so visionary. And also Patrick's a part of Stu's, master class, and it's great. What Patrick just said is so true. Incrementalism is the death of innovation. Period. So what happens is, and med tech companies hate to hear this, it's a commodity trap. And, a lot of people think that my agency Feed focuses on healthcare branding. I'll let you in on a truth. We're focused on how busy physicians make purchasing decisions. That's where the money's at. And what I've learned is here's what they're saying to us. Busy physicians are saying to us as part of their buyer's journey, if you come to me with incremental improvements, I'm going to lump you in as a commodity. And I'm going to treat you as a commodity, and I'm going to bang on you for pricing. And so the price we pay for not having exponential innovation, or at least product differentiation, is discounting. That's what I've learned throughout this whole process. So Patrick, I love your comment.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And you know, what's interesting is, you know, because I get people who come to me and they ask about like content creation and everything, and they'll say like, look, I work at XYZ company. Like we sell is not a sexy product. It's not a robotic platform. It's actually a commodity. I'm like, hey man, I get it. I said, so in that case, and this is, I would say what we're all talking about is this idea that the rep, you only have so much control of the product. You have only so much control of the marketing. What you do have control over is yourself. So when you productize yourself as a sales rep, which is what Johnny has done with himself, that's what all of us have done in some way. If you productize yourself, you add these features to that product that are non-existent other places, which is, hey, yes, you're going to get this product as a commodity. You also get me with it. Here's why that's helpful within the context of, let's say, the surgery, right? Here's how it's helpful outside surgery. So when I was a rep, I learned a lot about marketing. My surgeons love me because like, man, this guy helps us with our patient marketing all the time and gives us great ideas, right? Outside of that, it's like, you know what? I can go to Omar because he's really big into reading and he covers a lot of topics. You know, my kid is interested in this topic, or me as a surgeon, I'm really interested in, you know, like I would get a lot of questions about persuasion because surgeons are like, yeah, you know what? I never got trained on persuasion and I need to persuade my hospital CEO to adopt some technology unrelated to your company. How do I do that? Right. And I think this productization of the sales rep is where it needs to go, because not everybody sells like a one of its kind technology, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Surgeons or physicians do not buy technology intellectually, period. They make their decisions empathetically, and then they rationalize their decision after the fact intellectually.
That's right.
But yet no one's told us that. So basically what's happening is we're training, I mean, since I entered in 1994, we're training medical sales consultants, #hustle, #persuasion, just know enough about your technical proficiency to tell doctors how we're better. And it's a race to the messy middle, period.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, I can hear more and more people in my house now. So we have to try and sort of little by little wrap things up. But let me see if we have any more questions. Stu just dropped off.
That's right.
I love that. I was like, we have to just kind of at drop of the hat. It's like, I'm out.
That's right.
Matthew Scott, like, let's kind of, you know, look at that. We've had so many people come in and out, and the last one standing are the ones with the beards. There's something to be said about that, right?
There is something to be said about that.
I tell my wife all the time, it's like a man without a beard. It's like a cup of tea without some sugar.
Absolutely. You know, Omar, I just want to say I'm so glad that you put this together. What this forum does is it just allows people who are invested in their success to possibly learn something that can be the fulcrum, that can be the leverage that they're looking for, that can be the 15 degrees to the right or left. And we all have our own stories. And I had my pivot moment in 1996. And it goes like this. A nurse took pity upon me. I'm not even joking, Omar. She said to me, Matthew, you're the smartest sales rep we have, but you can't sell your way out of a wet paper bag. I'll never, ever, ever forget that. And she said,
it's pretty rough.
It's pretty rough. And she said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to the most successful sales rep. He happened to be a Synthes guy. The most successful sales rep. And you're going to call him up and offer to pay for his lunch. And I did that. And I met with that guy. And he was generous. He was insightful. And he laid down some foundational pivot moments for me that changed the trajectory of my future. And here's what I learned. And he said, Matthew, you must take accountability for investing in your future. You cannot depend upon your company. You cannot depend upon anybody else. You and I have talked about this. To this day, I mean, this year alone, 6 figures for me. I've invested 6 figures in my personal and professional development. And the ROI on that is a no-brainer. If you're stuck and you don't know how to maneuver your way to become unstuck, you must take responsibility for investing in getting help. And I invested what seemed like a ridiculous amount of money in 1996. And the ROI on that seed investment has made me a blessed person. And I learned right then and there is no price tag that you can put on figuring out a solution, an aha moment that changes the course of your outcome. So when I have people, and you have people that say they can't afford $97 a month, or they can't afford this or that, I say to them, with all due respect, this is not a fit for you. Mm-hmm. Come back when the pain is so insurmountable, and you will have a solution, period.
100%. And you know what? I'm so happy you say that, Matthew, because it's funny is like in my own CRM, one of the guys who I hired who's helping me was reading through the like closed loss, like, you know, people who came in, didn't end up enrolling. And he's like, you know, a lot of the notes say the same thing, which is like some version of doesn't get it, not enough pain. And I'm like, yeah, I was like, that's exactly what it is. I was like, for a lot of these people, they're not clear about what's coming in the future. It's already here, and they're not in enough pain. And I tell I have some people in my program. I'm sure you do as well. I have people in my program who, you know, because I incrementally increase the price, right? Who I tell them all the same thing. I'm like, look, you're going to be back in this program. You're going to be in my program. You're going to be in Medical Sales RX or somebody else's, or all of them in the future. You will pay more money. You're going to pay a lot more money too. I said, but that's not the part that's going to hurt. That part is not going to be a big deal. The part that's going to hurt the most is that you'll have the regret of having wasted a lot of time. Everybody worries about the cost of professional development, the cost of a course. Oh, this coach is costing too much. Nobody worries about the cost of being in the exact same place 1 year from now. You don't get that back.
Well said. You know, 1996, this program that I entered into, it was $3,500 up front. That's
a lot of money back in 96.
A lot of money.
That is a lot of money. Dang. And what was the program, if you don't mind asking?
Yeah, it was Sandler Sales President's Club.
Oh, yes.
And and so what I did is I asked him, would you accept a discount? He said, Matthew, this is not a fit for you. Come back when you're ready. I said, could I pay you in an installment program? And he said, Matthew, this is not a fit for you. Come back when you're ready. And I was driving from St. Louis to Kansas City. And every mile, Omar, I was thinking, I am 1 mile further from having somebody who has a proven set of expertise. And what I did is I went home and I asked my wife, and to my wife's credit, she was supportive. And we took $3,500 out of our bank account that we really couldn't afford. I turned around and drove another 3 hours from Kansas City to St. Louis the same day. And I handed him the check and I said, I'm all in. And he said, I believe you are. It was the very first professional development course that I ever took. And I learned I'm going to invest in myself. And I'm going to recalculate ROI. And I've entered into programs that I didn't think were great, and I entered into programs that were magnificent. And what I learned is it's not about the delta difference of what's great, what's good. It's that I put my money on the faith of saying, I want to get better. And that has never steered me wrong, ever.
Yeah. You know, I love that you said that, because honestly, I always joke at people and was like, you know, because, you know, people see I buy a lot of books, right? So I spend a lot of money on books, a lot. And I tell people, I'm like, have you ever met somebody that in their, you know, like later in life, they say, you know where I really screwed up in my life? I bought too many books.
Yeah,
right?
never.
Yeah, never. I tell them, like, you're not going to look at, you know, a $5 or $10, $15,000 course, a year from now, 5 years now, 10 years from now, you say, you know where I really screwed up? So I spent this money on some professional development.
Yeah,
right.
I love it. Omar, in conclusion, there's going to be 3 people tonight. There's going to be 3 people. They're busy. Dinner's calling. Kids are calling. There's going to be 3 people tonight that are going to take tonight and they're going to act on it. And everything's going to be different. And at the end of the day, at the risk of sounding corny, I remember when I was one of those 3 people who stayed till the end. I remember being at a point where I'm like, I'm staying to the end. I'll be the last person on this. And every time that I've kind of, you know, stayed in the pocket long enough, it's been so good.
I 100% agree. And surprisingly, we have way more than 3 people still on the stream right now. But with that being said, Matthew Ray Scott, hey, it's been a pleasure. Bearded brother from another mother, I appreciate you. I wish you and your family Merry Christmas, a happy holidays, and a wonderful 2023. And hey, it's gonna be fun, man. It's great to be blazing trails with you and pioneering this new way in our industry, because it's here to stay. Yeah,
it is. Thank you for setting this up. Omar, you've helped so many people tonight.
Same with you, man. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. Hey, and for all of you who joined us, thank you so much for joining. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, a great 2022. Hey, you're wrapping up the year. Keep going hard. We'll see you in 2023. And take Matthew's advice. Be one of those 3 people. Take action now. Shoot Matthew a message. Shoot myself a message. Just stop thinking about it. Just take action, right? God rewards those who help themselves. So,
amen. Amen.
All right, brother. We'll see y'all later. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The State of MedTech. I'm your host, Omar M. Khateeb. Do us a favor, if you like this episode, share with somebody, and go ahead on Apple and Spotify, wherever you are, leave a 5-star review, type a few nice notes about us. This is how we get other people to find the show. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.